Nandri Toastmaster Saravana, the Toastmaster of the day. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க? நான் இங்க வந்ததுக்கு மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன். I'm really glad to be here. Also, thank you, Ratish, for helping me with the script. So, I hope each one of you is comfortable for listening to the keynote in English. And please, I hope to make it an interactive session and let us all have a discussion rather than it being a one-way speech or an address. So, Ratish suggested this topic, how to choose a speech topic and speech development. So before we even get to the topic, let us just look at the four broad types of speeches that we give, be it in Toastmasters or outside of it. So it can either be inspirational or motivational. It can be informative. It can be entertaining and persuasive, right? So of course, it can also be a combination of one or two or three of these. So just even before you pick out the topic, it is important that you decide the speech type, right? It can be a combination of either persuasive and humorous or anything of that kind. Also, my recommendation is that you start with topics based on these three aspects. They are start with topics based on your passion, your interest, and your knowledge in exactly that order. So for me, if I could give an example, I am passionate about giving motivational speeches and speeches where I can narrate descriptive stories. I am interested in books and movies. So you would have heard from his introduction that I want to write a full-fledged book, probably a Netflix show or whatnot. And I am knowledgeable. I can say a little knowledgeable in finance and language. But in all these 7 years, I have not yet come to give speeches in my knowledge area because I have been utilizing my passion and interest areas to give speeches. It is very important that you note down points. It can either be the points based on what you are inspired by or what you can think of immediately. By points, I mean anything related to the subject you wish to talk about, right? So you decide that this is your, you want to give a persuasive speech, and then you feel that, okay, you have decided probably the title or something, and then you start noting down points in a notes app or your diary. So note down points on what you are inspired by, listening to the people around you, or by any movie that you watch and it's related to that topic or popular culture. So let me give you an example. I gave a speech called Kill the Diet. It was mainly for the humorous speech contest, but I also wanted to persuade people to stop indulging in mindless diets like keto diet or water only, fluids only diet and all that. So I was really particular that I talk about it, and wherever I heard about it, I started noting down points on the app. Now you would be wondering, I mean, where will I get all this inspiration, right? Now, can you think of the two eras? Yeah. I would say, sorry, please, Toastmaster Saravana, you were saying.
Like career growth because of...
No, era, periods, right? Okay. I would say after COVID came, it's two eras. BC and AC. Yeah, before COVID and after COVID, right? Right. So it's not BC and AD, or now it is BC and AC. So of course, in BC era, you would hear conversations from colleagues. You would attend family functions. Of course, to all those unmarried men and women, that would be like a pain, because your relatives would ask you, when will you get married, etc. But still, I would recommend that when you get a chance, you attend family functions, because believe you me, by attending 3 family functions, your entire path of humorous speaking will be completed, right? You'll get so many subjects. And of course, you would all go for dinner with friends, and that would be again so many topics being discussed. But now we have to accept the reality that we are in AC era, or during Corona era. We have hopefully soon to migrate to AC era. So we get a lot of salary discussion. Yeah, I mean, my numbers in that regard aren't that great, so I wouldn't want to comment on that. However, in the AC era, we have online interactions like this. We are blessed to have online meetings. We have social media, of course, and we have sources like Netflix, Prime, Sun, whatnot. Now, I would recommend that always keep your minds and your notes app open, right? So if I may, 1 second, just. So this is, I know it may not be that visible, but I have a notes app where I have at least about 25 topics that I have jotted down. I have just, I don't know when I'll give those speeches, but if I get some inspiration on something, I will start a new topic. And if it's humorous, I'll put it in one color. If it's inspirational or motivational, I'll put it in another color. And so I will start jotting down points. So when I get to that speech, it's easy for me, right? So I would always recommend that you start, because once you forget that point, afterwards you may feel that you have missed something very important. And again, I would say, note down without hesitation anything related to the topic. You need not filter right away. You need not filter the points or cull out only the important points. Just write anything and everything related to that topic, around that topic, or even remotely close to that topic. Because definitely we need as much data as possible, as much info as possible, so that when we write the speech, we can get to the filtering aspect. I would like to take a pause here. I would like to ask the timer, time that is remaining, and also if you have any questions related to choosing a topic. Yes, Toastmaster Priyadarshini, the time.
At 8 minutes now.
Oh, great. Okay. So shall I go ahead? Will you all be asking questions at the end? Okay. Now that we have spoken about how we can arrive at the topic, and if it's still not clear, you can always ask me questions. So let us come to speech development. Now, I told you that you have a specific objective, right? Either persuasive, informative, etc. That is the general objective. But what is the specific objective of your speech? That is the purpose of delivering on that particular topic. It can be to convince people to exercise. Of course, it is difficult to convince me. It will take a lot more of your persuasive skills to get me to exercise at a gym. Or you would want to persuade people to quit smoking. So once you have arrived at that, that is your specific objective. Your general objective is to persuade. Now, title should always induce curiosity, right? Even yesterday, one of my new mentees, we were discussing some topic, and she was recommending a lot. It was nice, but at the end, I told her it resembles something that you would write in a school or college essay, or an article for a magazine, for a weekly magazine, right? So, with due respect, we shouldn't give such topics which will not induce curiosity. And also, you need not break your heads. I know that coming up with a title may not be everyone's cup of tea, right? It may be difficult. It's not that you have to first write the topic like, traditionally we were told at our homes that before starting a new book or even a notebook, you write Shri and then you start writing in that book. I don't say that you have to write the title only, then you have to get to the speech. Start writing your speech. So if you are, if there's something inspires you a lot, you may get the title in the beginning or whatever you are saying in the speech, right? So probably you're giving a Tamil speech and there is a dialogue which says, "Na orumati sonna," everyone knows the rest, right? So somewhere that line comes and you can make that itself the title of your speech. It need not be conventional. I would say experiment here. This is a laboratory. Break the conventions in every way possible in Toastmasters. And so some of the topics I have given is recently, don't be afraid of the ladder. And in a Kannada speech, I gave Mudala Thala, that is first time. So I told I will be giving a speech called first time. Now people were asking, what is the first time? Oh, first love walk. Oh, what is that? First time you bunked the class. It was nothing. First time we all had pizza when we were in 8th grade. That's it. But you know, it generated curiosity. That's it, right? So that is how you come up with titles that induce curiosity. And now coming to the actual development of the speech, you should always have a kind of an opening. You can have 3 types of openings according to me. An opening that shocks, an opening that hooks the audience or makes them laugh, right? An opening that shocks. This will be my last speech. I actually gave a speech titled last speech, where I told them, this will be my last speech in the in-person context because we are going to have online meetings from the next week. Our Prime Minister had already announced that we are all, going to get a long break from in-person meetings. An opening that hooks the audience. I have a story of the time I was only 2 feet away from Talaivar, right? Yeah, of course. Later in the story, you can say that Talaivar was on the other side of the TV screen and I was on the other side, right? But how do you, hook the audience? They will all be thinking, how did this guy get to meet Talaivar? How did this guy get to stand just 2 feet away from Talaivar? And an opening that probably makes you laugh. I mean, that's always a risk, right? You can say, my shopping budget has been cut by half during the COVID era because I've been shopping only for shirts, right? Otherwise, mostly people are wearing shorts, people are wearing anything they're comfortable in. But I promise I'm wearing jeans, but we all wear good looking formal shirts on the top and probably wear shorts, right? So even your managers will not know. So this is how you try to make an impression at the very beginning. And then I would say, get into the topic. Don't take too much time to set the context and use the points that you have noted down in the time. Next, I'll say whether you call it a formula or you call it an approach, you can have maximum of 2 anecdotes or 2 stories within a speech, right? Please don't repeat the mistake I did. I will tell you that in my very first icebreaker, when I joined Toastmasters, the title was My Life in Quotes. And I packed in 10 quotes across various languages like Kannada, Sanskrit, and English and Hindi in 6 minutes. 10 quotes to explain my life until then. And of course, my evaluator was too kind. Otherwise, I may not have spent 7 years in Toastmasters, touch wood. But what I want to say is that don't pack too much. Don't burden yourself and don't burden the audience. And also you might have heard from your evaluators, when you have a lot of experienced members here. 2 of my friends are here, Ratish and Adi. And hopefully in the future, we get to be friends as well. But they would have definitely told you in your evaluation that have at least 1 personal anecdote. If you have said 2 stories not related to you, they would have told at least 1 personal story is good. Why? Because you're persuading or convincing someone with your own story. You are not saying, hey, yes, climbing Mount Everest is not a joke. I mean, is a joke. You can aram se do it here. but then we have not even climbed one small hillock near our place, right? So how can we convince people that doing something is easy without it coming from our own experience, right? And I usually like to use a lot of quotes in my speech because a quote conveys ideas in a crisp manner, in a concise manner, right? If you say a stitch in time saves nine, you have said so many things in just one sentence. And also use quotes either by a famous personality or, I mean, we are Toastmasters. We can come up with our own quotes, no harm, right? So always try to experiment in that as well. And let me remind you that any speech is a story. Even I know you have projects like research and present. You now say this theme of numbers. Your TMOD gave us stories around numbers. So any speech is a story. Don't be restricted. So I would say use descriptive words. It is easy to say, it was evening, my friend came, we went, we achieved this and we came back. Instead you say, it was a moonless night, it was dark, the dogs were howling, there was no one on the street, and only my friend and I went ahead for this mission. Just imagine how you are painting the picture in the second instance as compared to the first. You are not simply stating facts, you are narrating a story. And as I said, a story should have emotions. So please, when you are writing a speech, don't just put down your thoughts. Think back as to what you were feeling at that time. Always pen down the emotions while writing a speech. And the message should be clear and natural. It should not be forced. You don't say some story and then, and with due respect, we all say nowadays that we have a captive audience. Now, I will only seek feedback from Ratish later as to if my topic, if my presentation was related to the topic. But it just doesn't mean that, oh, people are here, they are here till 5:30 and I will say whatever I want, because you are a captive audience, right? I have held you all captive and you will not go out of respect or out of your passion for Toastmasters. Just because you have a captive audience, you cannot veer from the topic and then come back and say, this is my message. You have to remember, always your message should come through clearly, naturally. But you would have seen in many contests, right, that especially in the inspirational speeches, people repeat the same sentence, the speech topic again and again. They are say, they may say, the glass is half full. After each paragraph, they'll tell the glass is half full. The glass is half full. I cannot take that. That is not my style. For me, the message will come through only in the end. Before I conclude, I will say, this is my message and I'll leave the audience. But of course, it's up to you. You can conclude or you can even reinforce it. It's your style. My mentor always used to say that brevity is the soul of a good speech. Say it in as few words as possible, because that will give enough room for pauses. Correct? That will give enough room for pauses so that it registers. Because, sometimes what we are saying may be so valuable that people may want to write it down. When will you give them time to note down points, right? So give them some time, let them absorb, let them applaud or let them appreciate, and then move ahead. As always, don't try to do too many things. Simple is always best. And one request, be ruthless with your edits. Yes, we are all creators in some way or the other, and we feel, whatever I say is fantastic. It will be there in next movie of Gautam Menon or Shankar. If only they had overheard me, they would have written down everything I have said. Sometimes we have that feeling, but I will say, be ruthless with your edits. Give only what the audience really will take value out of and what adds value to your stories. Unfortunately, in Indian cinema, editing doesn't have as much value. But if you see in the Academy Awards, the Oscars, editing has a lot of value. There are so many awards in that division. And always know your speech speed. So you might be speaking fast. So in that regard, for a 700-word speech, 7 minutes is good. But if you are a slow talker, I'm almost done. It's my last couple of points. If you are a slow talker, then you may need to cut short by 50 words so that you can give enough room for pauses. And lastly, prepare the speech with good content, deliver with confidence for the audience, but always ensure you enjoy sharing your story. Because at the end of the day, it is your story, your experience, right? Of course, you need to give value to the audience. But if you are not enjoying that experience, then there is no point of anything else around it. So you should always enjoy the experience. It's a story, and your title will induce curiosity. And yeah, at the end of the day, you never know. Your story may be seen on the big screen or on Netflix or on Prime. And hopefully we will get complimentary tickets being Toastmasters. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity. If we have time, I'm willing to take questions.
Hi, Toastmaster Varun. It was indeed a great session. I have a couple of questions.
Please.
One is about the topic. Should we pick topic inside our speech? I know you touched upon in many areas, but my question is it a good idea to give a direct message in the topic itself?
Again, it's a topic has to induce curiosity. So you can go out of the way. You can it need not be related to the topic. But my question is, how will you connect it back, right? So at least I feel that there should be some link between the title and what you're speaking. It need not be direct. It need not be entrenched in that topic. But you can always go out of the way and then come back. If you have seen, just a small example, if you have seen an English movie called Thank You for Smoking, so it has three people. One is a tobacco, advocate. One is a liquor advocate. One is an arms advocate. They're all friends. They get together, they come for discussion, and then finally the story goes from there. So the title is Thank You for Smoking. When you go in, you think, oh, it's about a person who smokes a lot, etc. Right? It's in no way directly related, but it just pulls you. It pulls your curiosity.
Great. One point that actually struck my mind and I liked a lot is you mentioned that we can create our own quotes and say it in the speech, right? So yeah, I never thought about that. Indeed, that's a good idea. I always look in Google for good quotes about leadership, or if it is required in Tamil, I always refer Thiruvalluvar's some Thirukural, right? But that's a good point you said. Thank you so much for that. And the third thing is you said about structuring the speech, right? Passion, interest, and knowledge.
Yes.
I understand what needs to be inserted in all these three pieces. Some might have passion and interest of same thing. Some might not have any interest at all. So in those cases, what is your best suggestion to develop a speech?
No, absolutely, Ratish. Then you have to be, I wouldn't say a voyeur, but you should be able to pick from conversations, right? So in this speech called Kill the Diet, I was really struggling for what should I talk in humorous speech and all that. So at times things happen at once, right? So we are looking for that and it just is in front of your eyes. So it was before Corona era and we were all sitting in our office bay, and it was not such a busy time. And one of our colleagues, she is ex-colleague, she was really fashion conscious and she seemed to be diet conscious, and we were all envious of her because whatever she ate, we thought that it got digested, it went somewhere else because she was still always lean, always very trendy. So she was telling, oh, this dieting is such a this one, and so much pressure on me. I have to buy the trendiest clothes, and then I came up with at the same time I saw an ad which said 0-calorie clothing. I mean, I have not looked at calorie perspective even for one meal in my life. So imagine me encountering something called 0-calorie clothing. Then I go to the mall, I see that board which says 0-calorie. I mean, dude, you don't have even a centimeter of space, when you wear that shirt. Okay, and I said, I am really against it. I think such things should not be there. They are abhorrent to people like me who enjoy food, who enjoy talking about food. So it is like what is a discriminatory against people like me. So that happened, and whatever my colleague said, it just fused, and I generously sourced content from whatever she said, her opinions on diet and everything. After I shared it with her on YouTube, she said, Varun, you have to give me credit for the speeches. I said, yeah, definitely. If you join Toastmasters, then I will give you credit. So you can source generously. And one small thing, so we used to go to a lot of family functions, right? So another humorous speech called Theory of Relativity. I just spoke about my relatives. Nothing, 2-3 functions. I took incidents from all that, where one uncle thinks that he knows everything about everything in the world, and he was discussing why they chose him for IPL auction, why he was made the captain, and then they were telling, oh, the price of this vegetable is like this, price of this is this. Nothing. I just took those 2-3 instances, I put it in my speech, and it was a winning speech. So I'm telling you, Ratish, there is content everywhere around us, only if we are willing to observe, and only if we are willing to steal from our friends and from our relatives.
Great. Thank you.
Varun, I have a question.
Please.
Like whenever I used to give a speech, like I include like more sarcasm in that. But sometimes what happens, people don't understand sarcasm. So like how to manage the rest of the speeches? Like even as a speaker, I became panicked. Like I feel confident at that time. Like my confidence at a shake whether they are going to understand the rest of the speeches or not.
Vinod, I would, sympathize with you, dear friend. Everyone isn't at the same wavelength, right? And this is not sarcasm, okay? Sometimes our experiments fail, but I would say experiment, there is no harm. And a best test for you is, why don't you give a speech at home, right? To say your family, either your spouse, or if you're married, or your parents, right? Or your friends, right? Give a tester, right? You need not give the full speech. You can just say, hey guys, see, this is one section of the speech. And because, friends of the same feather flock together, right? So maybe even if you're friends, of course, you have to do different sample, right? You may want to ask a little, with due respect, dumber friends, right? Or who may not understand sarcasm. You may have to bring them in. You have to bring another set and say, guys, this is what I'm experimenting. Or put it on Twitter, right? Now we have that benefit. Put it on Twitter. If there are a lot of reactions or something, then you go ahead. Otherwise, I would say always balance, because at the end of the day, though we are doing it for our joy, it should cater to the audience. That message should reach the audience. Probably once you grow and you make a name for yourself as someone who speaks sarcastically, then people will come looking for your content, right? When you are giving a keynote or something, people will say, man, he talks, he gives us a lot of sarcasm, and we enjoy that. Come, let us attend his speech, attend his. Until then, what do you say? I wouldn't say fake it, but try to manage until you make it.
Thanks.
I hope
Varun.
I answered.
Yeah, I'll open a Twitter account today.
Yeah, you'll get a lot of content there also. Anything else?
Varun, few takeaway, okay, but
Please,
I would like to mention here,
please.
which I liked it actually.
Thank you.
Okay, I think of myself like recollecting whatever I prepared for speech or prepare for any role. Okay, the words are the sentence which you use. Something made me to recollect or think. Like, don't pack too much, don't burn the audience, and then simple is always best. And create your own story. The create your own story is being impact in maximum of the MNC companies nowadays. Even the problematic situation also they want to create as a story so that maybe reach their mind and that will never forget in easy in terms of okay the pressures or whoever it is comes. So and the way you conclude end of the day it's our story that made me to think okay we need to put across the emotion and own personal thoughts whatever role which you're going to take or whatever speech which you're going to do. So thank you for that.
Thank you, my pleasure. And I would only like to say that there's a child in each one of us, whether we want to agree or not. So that is why in corporate, what they say is corporate storytelling, right? So they say, you know what, I'm a good storyteller, but they know that every one of us wants to hear a story. No one wants to hear a person who says, hey, I know everything, I will teach you something. They'll say, Poda, we have so many, I know more than you, right? But instead, if you say, guys, have a story to share with you, right? Then people will say, yes, come, I want to listen from your story. Because two things, you're not coming across or you're not portraying yourself as an expert, but you're just telling that I am also someone like you and I want to share a story. And always stories come from experience or observation. So then you will say, oh, you know what? When this guy can do it after facing this, then I'm sure I can do it. So that kind of comfort will be there. And I would say, please take a lot of inspiration from popular culture, right? I didn't stress on that. Say, so something that Modi has announced, some scheme, you find it harebrained. But of course, it's a taboo topic if you make it political. But if you take it and convert it into fiction, it is not a taboo topic. Anything else? Lastly, I just want to say that without hurting sentiments, you can even take from your gods. You all know the story of how Ganesha, Lord Ganesha was invited by uh, Indra and Yama for a treat after his creation, right? So when he is going on a mouse, on a rat, how the rat sees a snake and how it gets frightened and Ganesha falls off, right? Hope you have all heard the story. Ganesha falls off and that heavy meal just spills out of his stomach, right? And then he immediately puts all that back into his stomach. He pulls the snake and makes it into a belt. So, believe it or not, I converted it into a dream sequence in my speech of Kill the Diet, and I made myself that character, right? And that is how I started the speech Kill the Diet. Look, many people came back and said, hey, yes, that is from the Ganesha story, right? But I didn't hurt anyone's sentiments because I myself am a devout follower of Lord Ganapati. It's just that I took something from what we have heard as children during the Ganesha Vrata every year. Every year, Dad used to narrate that story with body language, right? So, what I want to say, concluding, is that, guys, there are stories throughout us, around us. We have all grown up hearing stories from our parents, our grandparents. I would say just take that, tweak that, and use it. Because at the end of the day, there's a child in every one of us, and there's also a storyteller in every one of us. We just have to find them and we have to secure them in cotton wool. That's it. I hope you enjoy narrating your stories. And thank you for being such a patient audience, such a participative audience. Thank you very much. And thanks, Toastmaster Ratish, for creating this opportunity for me. I would love to be back as a participant, as an audience to your club, Ten Tamil Toastmasters Club. Thank you, Nandri.
Thank you, Toastmaster Varun. It was a great speech. Actually, I can expect now many speech slots from the audience. I hope they will be starting their, they will be penning down their speeches today itself. Thanks for that.
Sorry, I just have one thing. Please don't give any speech without it being mentored. Give enough time to your mentors. Even to this day, I do not give a single speech without sharing it with my mentor, and after she agreeing it, after she going through it. So please, because at times we feel that whatever we write is good, but there should always be an objective view from the other side. So please give enough time to your mentors to get it mentored. Then your speech level will definitely enhance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Varun, Toastmaster Varun. I wanted to tell that because I am gifted to have a mentor, DTM Karthikeyan sir. Each speech, he never tells okay in first script. He keeps, and really I am gifted to have him as my mentor.
Absolutely, you are very lucky. If you
Yes.
want mentors who say yes immediately, that means they are either taking a shortcut or they just they are not putting that much effort. But definitely, and I'm sure he will say yes for the first time once you meet his expectations.
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you.
I have reached that stage now. He says first time. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Varun.